Hello all. Today we're going to go through a practical example using Databricks. Uh, I'm still very new to this, only a few weeks in. I've spent a few weeks learning the theory side of it. And now moving on to the practical side and getting a bit more hands-on. So I've created a throwaway email account just randomly from one of them 10-minute email account things. And I've got a set of data which I'm going to be using, which is retail data CSV file. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm in my workspace here, and you can see here on the left the options. You've got SQL, data engineering, machine learning options. Um, but because I'm still new to this, I'm just today going to be focusing on the workspace using notebooks and using SQL Editor, and also looking at dashboards as well. We'll also be covering SQL warehouses and compute, because you're going to need compute resources to use notebooks. So let's get started. Let's create a folder, call it retail. Right, cool, that's created. Let's get to data indigestion, because I've got a CSV file and I want to load that in here and create a table from it. So UK supermarkets, I'm just going to call this retail data. And as you can see here, this is all the information in my CSV file. So now I want to create a table of this so I can use this in Databricks. Let's create the table. Takes a few seconds for it to get going. And cool, everything's created. And if you look here in our catalog, we can see under default we've got our retail data table. This information here, which is giving you the overview, so it'll show you the type of what the column, what the data type is. So you've got string. And let's move on now to some notebooks. So let's go back into our workspace. Let's go into retail and let's create a notebook. So go forward, create notebook. Let's call this retail analysis. Right, brilliant. As you can see here, let's first cover here. So any notebook, it requires a compute resource. As you can see here, it's already connected to our compute resource, and in this case it's called the serverless starter warehouse. Moving on to here, we've got an option of what language we want to use. Same here as well. Now we can use something called a magic command, which is a percentage sign followed by the SQL. So even though it says Python there, oh well, it said Python there. And once you put that in, it will change it. It also does it automatically, it detects the language that you're going to be using. So let's start by running a query which retrieves the first 10 rows from retail data, and this helps us inspect the data. So select from, in fact, let's just do it all small, select from default retail data. One of the great things about Databricks, especially in notebooks, is that it populates it for you automatically. So it'll show you the option, you just press tab and it'll autofill for you. Limit 10, and let's run that. So we run this cell here. In fact, just before I run that, so here you got options, right? You have code and you got text. Now what the text is, it lets you label what your code is doing, so you can give it a title. So let's label this code, and it's in Markdown anyway. So let's call this view the first 10 rows, and we can highlight this. And let's see what it looks like. There we go. So now we've got a heading to our code. So if we're going to share this with our colleagues or anyone else, they'll know by looking at the heading what the code is doing. So let's run this and let's see what information we get. and it's working in the background. There we go. It took a bit of time, but we got there, and you can see here it's giving us the table and the information that we requested, which is the first 10 rows. Let's move on to, let's do the same thing again. Let's give it a title so we know what we're looking at. Count total records using, we're going to use SQL anyway for this, so I don't really need to highlight it. And let's give it a code. So there we go. Code is going to be select count. Brackets. There's going to be a star in there. Oz total supermarkets from default. There you go, default and retail data list popped up again. So we just press tab and tab again. Let's run this. And that was a lot quicker, so it's giving us the total that we asked for there. Now let's give this another example. Let's do a, let's just call this calculate average sales and profits. Code. Okay, so it's going to be select. It's going to be average. We're going to do annual sales. And that's already ended it. That's already filled it from the age. Average sales. We'll do the same thing again for average profits. Annual profits. Cool. Yes. AVG profits. And we're going to do from default retail data. And let's see what information that gives us. Oh, it's showing an error now. Okay, cool. So the annual sales of type string cannot cast double because it's malformed. So this is one of the great things about Databricks is that you can select diagnose error. And it's saying, right, okay, tell you what, this is what is needed to fix the error. And all we do is replace active cell content here, and it'll change that. So it's changed. Oh, I know it's changed, right? That's where my error was. Okay, let's try running that. Let's close this off, and that should give us the information. Oh, it's not, still not giving us the information. Do you mean the following annual profits on sales? Column variable. Let's try again. Where have I gone wrong? Oh, right, it's annual profit, not profit. So let's run that, and hopefully this. There we go. So we've got the average sales and we've got the average profits. We've done SQL. Now let's look at some beginner examples for PySpark. PySpark, something I'm very new to, still learning actively. But let's call this a PySpark example of first 10 rows. First 10 rows. Highlight this, and let's stick some code here. And it's going to be df, if I remember correctly, d data frame. What this is going to do is going to load the retail data table into a PySpark data frame, and it's going to display the first 10 rows. So spark.sql select from default retail data, and then I've got to do a df.show because I want to see the first 10, not the first 19. And that's from that. Let's get a sip of water. And there we go. As you can see, there is a difference in how the data is presented. If we look at the SQL table presentation is very different to how it's presented here. PySpark, I'll get into this at the end, but using PySpark is much better. It is you can do much more with it. Let's do PySpark example again. PySpark example for total count records. Let's. Oh God, I didn't do the code, did I? Did the wrong one. Let's get that out of here. Let's do a code for it. Let's highlight that. A2. And then we've got df.count. And let's run that. Anyway, we've got the result there, which is 50. I mean, as I'm still building my skill level on this, there's actually so much more to learn. Especially when it comes to PySpark and data frames. It is an absolutely fascinating subject and something I'm going to be hopefully spending more and more time on learning about it. So we've covered here notebooks. Now, if we go into SQL Editor, I'll show you what SQL Warehouse. So SQL Warehouse is our compute resource, and our SQL Warehouse is something that's really, really important. And in a previous video, I discussed the advantages of SQL Warehouse and why it's used. Now, if we go into SQL Editor, let's see this. Let's create another one. Create a new query. Let's cancel that. Let's discard that. Okay. Right, let's use an SQL editor. So again, with SQL editor, you've got select. Oh God. From default retail data, and if we run this, we've got to limit this to 10. This can be the whole data. Run. It's taking its sweet time, and it's presented us with results. Now, one thing you can do directly from here is you can actually visualize this information. And so if we select on this plus, we can visualize this, we can filter this as well. If we go to visualization, we can choose what, annual sales. We can change, you can, pick the type of how you want the data visualized in what type of format. So if we go on Py, annual sales, let's stick on profit. Oh, okay, that's not going to work. Let's do bar. Y column, no, let's not group that by anything. X-axis, annual sales, skills, linear name, series colors, and let's pick scatter. City and annual profits by the city. So we've got the city, annual sales, annual profits, which is used here. So let's get rid of that. We don't need that. And we can group by, in fact, put that back in again. Let's group by manager name. Anyway, so you've got a choice of, then you can save this data and you can see it within within the page where you've run the query. You can just call this anything you want to be honest with you. Let's see, annual sales by city. Now you might be wondering, what is the difference between the SQL editor and Notepad? If you just bear with us a second, I think my computer is freezing up a little bit, it's getting a bit slower. I'm just going to pause this video. I seem to be having issues. I'm just going to restart and then get back to you guys. Hello, I'm back. Right, sorry about that. Right, okay, so as I was saying earlier, you may be wondering what's the difference between SQL Editor and notebooks and Databricks. And all it comes down to is the flexibility of it. So SQL Editor and Databricks is designed for running purely SQL queries, which are stored on Databricks. It's great for quick ad hoc SQL queries, exploring tables and viewing data and building dashboards for business users. Running simple ETL as well. Now the limitations, it only supports SQL, so it doesn't support Python anyway, so it's less flexible in terms of programming and visualization. Now notebooks, it supports multiple languages, makes them obviously much more versatile. Now it's best for data engineering and ETL, so you could write data pipelines using PySpark or Scala. Great for machine learning and AI, and fantastic for complex data analysis. Because you can combine SQL queries with Python. And then when it comes to visualization and reporting, you can create custom plots using Seaborn, Plotly. Just let me sign back in again here. Session's expired. Oh, my internet's gone down, unfortunately. I mean, the demonstration is almost over, so it's just as well. But yeah, that's the advantage of using notebooks over SQL. I'm back. I seem to be having no end of internet issues today. I've just had to reset the router. Seems to have got everything back to life again, which is great. Just before I end the video, I am going to quickly just go through dashboards. So obviously, I've run here another query. This is again just using SQL Editor. Now, if you go into dashboards, we can create a dashboard here. Now, one of the great things is using SQL Warehouse is that you can actually connect Power BI, Tableau straight to the SQL Warehouse compute resource and get all the data straight into there. I'm a big fan of using Power BI and Tableau. I think they're fantastic tools, but if you want to, you can actually create in here as well. So you can go to create a dashboard, get the tab going, and tile page. Now we've got Canvas, we've got data. Now if we go into data, we can create either the data from the SQL queries that we run or select the table. And in our case, it's retail data. So I'm going to select the table here. And we've got all the data here. Now if we go back to our Canvas, well, let's see, I've only used this a couple of times. Add a visual. So we select that here. What type of visual do we want? Bar graph, so we pick what do we want on the X. So let's just put annual profits. And here we put, I don't know, city. And there we go. We've got our first bar chart, bar graph. And then we can add some more as well. So we can just stick another one here. Let's do, where is it now? Let's do a pie. What can we add in here? This one, the great thing, so you get up here, you got assistance, AI assistance, and it will create it for you. So you've got annual sales by a supermarket, annual profits, number of employees. So let's click on that and we'll create the pie chart for you. It's done a graph, or in this case, let's see if it'll do a pie. Yeah, there we go. So just change it to pie. It shows the number of employees per supermarket. And you can continue doing this. It is a fantastic tool, but you can use just as easy. You can use Power BI or Tableau or other BI tools if you want to. Let's do a heat map. Annual sales to annual profits, and there we go. I'm just doing this randomly. Don't follow this as something that's how it should be done. Just doing this very randomly, just as an example as what can be done. And that covers it. So this is my first demo using Databricks, using primarily notebooks, SQL Editor. I went through some compute resources with you, and then I've also shown you how you can create dashboards using dashboard option, but how you can create visualizations from SQL Editor as well. I hope you've enjoyed the video, apart from the numerous pauses due to the computer slowing down and also internet connectivity issues. Thank you very much for watching.